All right, so what a crazy day we've had so far for Bitcoin. I think we saw a lot of anticlimax after the speech, and Trump didn't mention Bitcoin directly. He didn't say Bitcoin, he didn't say crypto. The closest thing that he said is the Department of Government Efficiency, which is what Elon Musk has been charged with. Elon Musk and I think Vivek. And both of those guys are crypto people, right? And of course, DOGE is, I don't know, by coincidence, the acronym of Department of Government Efficiency. And then it just so happens to be DOGE. So there's that link, and there's the link with Elon Musk. So that's where the crypto link is coming from. But apart from that, there was no executive order directed at the SEC. Personally, I wasn't expecting an SEC-specific executive order. Replacing the SEC chair with someone who is more crypto-friendly and who's a libertarian, who believes in, government keeping their hands off of people's money. I think that's enough, and that's bullish enough. And I think that the core market understands that. I think what we experienced today, as you can see, there's the dip, pump, the dip, and then the recovery. It's just, emotions, right? A lot of people placing giant trades, people shorting the market, people placing giant longs. And this is why, this reaction is amplified. There's the usual buy the rumor, sell the news that was playing its part. There was some disappointment in that Trump didn't mention, Bitcoin directly. There was no clear and unequivocal mention of cryptocurrencies. And I think some people found that to be disappointing, and the market sold off a little bit. But I think this is dumb, because I think it's going to recover. I also think some people were liquidators, where we got the scam wick here, which was immediately eaten up. And then we're just back to 102.8, which is where we were roughly before this, dip pump stuff. So personally, I think that by tomorrow or the following day, when the dopamine levels have depleted and people are starting to feel a little bit more realistic and clear visioned, then we should continue on our gradual pump to the moon. Now, we are in for a crazy year, right? Because there is one thing that is a threat to cryptocurrencies. Now that the SEC is most likely going to be not necessarily pro-crypto, but at least hands-off of crypto, as Donald Trump assumes a kind of America first, sort of guns blazing attitude towards developing the American economy and infrastructure and sort of brute forcing the United States back to the front of the pile. I think that the only avenue that is going to be left for the opposition is in the courts. And I think that a lot of the things that he said will trigger the heck out of the opposition. And I think that the lawsuits are going to be coming in thick and plenty. And talking about lawsuits, we have one already brewing for this so-called Department of Government Efficiency. And the lawsuit threatens Elon Musk's over transparency concerns, right? So we're going to get a lot of these transparency, unconstitutionality, and, things like that, because some of those things that Trump did were quite based, right? He came in and he just, guns blazing, blah, 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 shock and awe. But people are not going to take some of this stuff lying down, the opposition anyway. So they will go after all of those policies in the courts, because obviously the Republicans have got the House and the Senate and all those sort of things, right? So the opposition doesn't have as much power to veto his stuff this year, or this term, so to say. They can't offer the same level of opposition that they did in the last administration. So they're left with the courts. This is bullish. Let me just start off from here. This is bullish for XRP, because XRP has already been in the courts. XRP has already been through all the legal stuff, has legal clarity. Ripple is about to win the SEC case outright, or the case is about to be dropped. So XRP kind of almost stands alone in its legal clarity and will be exempt from most of these legal challenges that I believe we're going to see going forward, which is going to be a bit of a problem from some cryptos, right? So this legal battle is brewing over Elon Musk's Department of Government Efficiency, aka DOGE. So according to the Washington Post, the National Security Council, a public interest law firm, is preparing to file a lawsuit claiming that DOGE violates federal transparency laws. So this is what we're going to be seeing. All these private or, these non-governmental organizations are going to be used by the opposition to try and, combat some of these things that the executive is laying down, right? It alleges that the group disregards the 1972 law requiring certain advisory committees to follow specific disclosure and hiring practices. Per the report, the lawsuit could become official as soon as Trump takes office today. They're hitting the ground running. And while we were celebrating about this whole DOGE thing and Elon Musk and the crypto friendliness of the new SEC chair, the powers that be and the opposition in the background wasn't laying on their laurels. They were up preparing a lawsuit, because this isn't something that they did today. This was, weeks, probably months in the making, and they just timed it perfectly to coincide with all the joy that people are feeling about, the new administration. So the DOGE structure is what's under scrutiny. Notably, DOGE is led by Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy, aiming to cut government regulations and spending programs. The group has hired 5 staff and operates outside SpaceX Washington offices. Despite the high-profile leadership, the panel is not a formal government entity. The incoming compliant asserts that DOGE should be considered a Federal Advisory Committee, FACA, subject to strict regulations regarding public meetings, transparency, and balanced representation. The FACA law requires advisory groups to file charters with Congress, allowing public access to meetings and maintain detailed records of discussions. According to the complaint, DOGE has failed to comply with these essential rules. These actions, the plaintiff argues, breach the FACA law. The National Security Council assert that DOGE's operations must be transparent. They argue this is necessary to ensure that the advice it provides to the executive branch is subject to public scrutiny and regulatory oversight, which I think is absolutely fair enough. If this organization, the DOGE organization, is going to be advising the president and the White House, I do believe that, there should be a level of transparency, or at least some kind of scrutiny, so that they're not operating, in opposition to the interest of the American citizens. However, supporters of DOGE argue against that. Meanwhile, DOGE supporters, including Sam Hammond from the Foundation for American Innovation, have reacted to the FACA argument. Hammond contends that the group does not qualify as a formal advisory committee. He further argues that the president has the right to seek advice from external experts without triggering FACA requirements. He asserts that DOGE aims to implement reform ideas within the White House, which would exempt it from FACA regulations. However, the incoming lawsuit maintains that the lack of formal process and transparency around DOGE raises serious legal concerns. Meanwhile, the courts have long wrestled with balancing the need for transparency against the practical needs of the executive branch. While some private groups have been exempted from FACA's reach, the current lawsuit suggests that DOGE's role in advising the president on regulatory matters requires compliance with federal law. Now, whatever the case may be, it is important that these things are brought under scrutiny and put through the normal process, right? The due process. So I'm happy to see that, people are raising eyebrows. The last thing American citizens want is a dictatorship where, the executive just takes executive decisions without checks and balances. So if this represents a check and a balance, then it is good. But if this represents a way to slow down the process, throw a spanner into the works, then that's a bad thing. So we shall see how this plays out. This may or may not develop into a proper lawsuit. We shall see. But I think that we're going to see a lot of these lawsuits come out of nowhere to attack all of the things that are going to happen. I envision a time when the ISO 222 project itself, or whatever the RLUSD or Circle or Coinbase are cooking up for the dollar or whatever, that may be attacked by organizations that are non-governmental, such as this one. I'm 100% sure that this whole Trump meme coin and this Melania meme coin saga is going to be investigated. Someone is going to bring that up and it's going to be dragged in court for ages. And crypto for the next 4 years is going to be portrayed as some sort of dark, surreptitious, dodgy, incognito, underground currency that is used to do, weird, dark things. So buckle up for this craziness. But I think this is bullish again for XRP and definitely for Ripple, because they've undergone 5 years or so of scrutiny and legal battles, etc. So get your popcorn ready while all these other coins are going to be subject to the same sort of thing. Wherein, meanwhile, XRP shall fly all the way to the sky. Not financial advice. Do your own research, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.